Number one rule, what is it? You can't be a little pregnant. Either you have the right coverage, you follow the right rules, or you're going to pay the price. Anybody renting tables or chairs, or have them in their facility? Maybe a table or chair? ARA, 1 out of every injury claim is from a chair collapsing. Do you have the cheapest chairs you can get, or do you got quality ones that'll hold somebody that's larger than 100 pounds? I weigh 200 and, after eating at Texas de Brazil yesterday, probably 240 pounds. Normally 236. Some of these chairs aren't designed to hold me. You sit in them, they flex and they wobble. You got to make sure that you buy quality equipment to minimize your exposure. Sat down on a chair at a large event, chair broke. Tore his rotator cuff, he says. Amazing. Another one. Chairs had him for a meeting. Guest sat down in the chair, front leg snapped and broke off. Fell forward onto her knees, tried to catch herself with her hands. She alleged she had back pain and headaches after the fall. Chair was reported to be rusted. There was a rust on the chair. The rental store painted all the chairs prior to the event and didn't notice the rusted leg. Who didn't notice the rusted leg? The employee that painted the chairs. Didn't say anything. As an owner, did you make sure they know that they're supposed to report that stuff? Probably not. All we're talking about here is money that's going to get paid out because of some sort of negligence. Very easy to prove negligence. Innocent. Had tables stacked up in a room. Mom came in, put the baby up on top of the tables. Tables fell down. The mother got injured. But they settled with her, but she said they figured out she was 50% at fault because she contributed to her own injury. She leaned against the tables. Well, if the tables weren't stacked correctly, you're negligent. If you had them in an area where people are playing or kids are playing, you're negligent. You shouldn't have that. That's like having gasoline and a lighter next to each other. You're going to have an explosion. All right, so you ready to fight? Getting upset yet? This shouldn't be paid out, right? It happens every day. Now we're getting serious. You're going to drink a little bit heavier tonight. The bar, I wish I get a percentage of the bar tab at that restaurant and the bars. All right, so what causes it? Attorneys. Attorneys can sue for pretty much anything, and it's our job as your insurance company to defend you. It's hard to defend you if you don't follow the rules. Attorneys, we got to have them. They always smile. Notice the difference? Oh, similarities. See his teeth? Isn't that cool? Graphic girl. All right, today's class is going to be basically a shark net for you. Sir, if you want to move up a little closer because you can't see, you're squinting at your old age, not a problem. We have front row seats for you. You want to use my glasses, Alex? Buddy of mine, Alex Reed, been giving me gray hair since I got in the insurance industry. All right. Sharks are always out there. You guys got to make sure that you understand that the attorneys will be there. There's going to be a lawsuit filed because they know somebody that knows somebody that was at a party that said, hey, my kid got hurt. Oh, you know what? We can get you some money for that. I'm the bearer of bad news. Everybody hates the insurance guy. All right. So what drives the price of the insurance? What's the reasons? We need to make sure that you understand it. Claims. Frequency, how often do you have them? The severity of the claims, how much money is getting paid out on these claims? The volume of the premium in that particular industry. Let's say every indoor center has a premium of $10,000 and there's 100 of them. That's $100,000. One claim wipes all that out. So unless you have millions of dollars in premium in that pool, the insurance company says, hey, we don't want to play no more. And you've already seen several companies pull out of it in the last 12 months. Don't want to do indoors anymore, or they double your rates on you. Indoors, you're going to see a huge difference because of the claims. Availability of markets. How many people want to play? Insurance companies are in it to make money. That's it. If they lose money, they roll up their cart and say, you know what, we don't want to play no more. They disappear. All right. Top causes. Lack of trained supervision. What is trained? Do you have a manual? Is it signed by every employee that they read it and understood it and they were trained? Really? Everybody's looking at each other going, oh, hell. If it's not written, it doesn't exist. Captain Coke in the back. Overloaded inflatables, allowing too many people on there. One of the biggest complaints we get from indoor operators is saying, you know what, I can't afford to have more people on there. Folks, I just showed you about 12 different reasons why you need to afford to have it. If you don't have the correct supervision on that floor, and you don't have them trained to where they can handle the kids that are unruly and have the parents involved, you're in trouble. Not tethered properly. Several inflatables are not tethered on an indoor, especially slides. Sudden deflation. Maintenance. Got to have a maintenance log, folks. It's an ASTM standard. If you don't have it, you lose in the court of law. This is what a lot of you guys are going to look at like about 7 o'clock tonight. What's rule number 1?
Can't be a little bit pregnant.
All right. You guys are getting it. What kind of coverages should I have? I'm glad you asked. Here's a few of them that you should have. All of these are a tax deduction to you. They're an expense, but they're a tax deduction. You got to understand, as a business owner, as an indoor center owner, this is what you should have. All of these different types of insurance. The general liability, everybody knows about. That's all they want. All I want is a piece of paper, certificate of insurance for the landlord. You guys really don't care what the coverage are until we start explaining all the risks. And then everybody opens up their eyes and says, wow. Professional liability. General liability policies exclude professional liability. What's professional liability? Do you put on parties? Do you give advice? Do you plan it? Do you put it together? You're an event planner. That part is not covered under a general liability policy unless you add it in. Do you have open play where they just come on in? Do you give any type of classes inside? Do you allow a subcontractor to come in and operate inside your facility? Do you have proof of insurance naming you as additional insureds? We're going to cover all that. Life insurance. Should you have life insurance? If your husband and wife, if something happens to either one of you, can you operate it without the other person? Probably not. Our insurance agency is set up. We got 17 employees. Can it still run? It probably runs better without me being there. Matter of fact, it makes more money when I'm not there, the girls say. So please go talk. If you're not there operating it and you're an absentee owner, you're going to have issues with claims. And probably 90% of my customers that are absentee owners have claims. Higher than other that are actually involved in the daily operations. Is it a pain in the butt? Yes. Is it a necessary evil? Kind of. Depends on who your managers are and how well trained they are. Commercial auto, if you're using your vehicles in business. Workers' comp, it's kind of mandated by law. Some people have it, some don't, until they get caught, and then they call me. EPLI, employees practice liability, covers if you fire somebody and they sue you, or you discriminate, or you touch somebody wrong. Kind of important stuff. In today's society, the amount of EPLI claims against employers from employees, disgruntled, whatever, has risen 400% in the last 4 years due to the economy and everything else. All right. What the heck is general liability? Everybody says I got to have it. What does it cover? It doesn't cover you for anything. It covers the acts of you, officers, employees, and volunteers for their acts in your normal course of business. It pays for bodily injury or property damage if somebody gets hurt. Some policies exclude errors and omissions, such as the professional services, the professional liability. Got to make sure that you have that if you're having a party place. You may need excess coverage or an umbrella policy, depending on what your exposure is for your personal assets. The standard in today's industry, 1 million per occurrence, 2 million aggregate. Most of the malls or strip centers are requiring higher, some as high as 5 million liability limits. Make sure before you sign a lease, you send it to your insurance agent that knows what the heck he's doing to review it to make sure there's coverages that are available at a price you can afford. Usually we get a copy of the lease after they sign it. And the leases are created by an attorney that has to justify his existence on earth. So he will use a template that they used from 30 years ago with coverage descriptions that they don't have available anymore. And you signed a lease saying, hey, I'm going to perform according to what this says. One such thing would be contractual liability. There hasn't been contractual liability covered under a liability policy for at least 25 years. So make sure that you get that contract in front of your insurance broker. Make sure you sit down with that person and say, hey, look, have I got everything covered here? Some leases will require that you guys have property coverage and loss of income coverage. Some people don't have that. So make sure you get with your insurance broker to review that. Do I really need this coverage? Well, rule number 1. What is it? Can't hear you. You guys got to wake up or I'm going to start telling bad jokes. Now that should make you want to do something. Or not do something. One of the two. All right. Abuse and molestation coverage. This is not covered under most policies. It is the most important coverage on today's market. How many people have kids in their facility? Raise your hand. Everybody else just does adults? If one of your employees touches somebody and you do not have video cameras positioned correctly for your defense, you're screwed. Because all you have to do is be accused in every state. We had a situation where somebody helped a little girl come down the slide. She was, I believe, 11 or 12 years old. She was crying. She didn't want to go down the slide. The employee went up, helped her. She didn't want to get down. He put her on his lap, wrapped his arms around her, went down the slide. Mom saw that, said that he touched her breasts inappropriately. That was a $70,000 defense that they paid out of their pocket because there was no coverage. All you have to do is be accused, folks. Buy the coverage. It's a lot cheaper. Attorneys, the minimum retainer that they get to do a defense on abuse and molestations, $30,000 to start talking to you. $30,000 out of your pocket. All right, do you have video cameras on all angles? Best investment we ever made. We owned a family fun center. We had an indoor center, and we had miniature golf and bumper boats and batting cages and paintball and all kinds of stuff. And I spent a ton of money getting video cameras in because I saw how much it helped. We had 2 incidents where people accused my staff of not taking care of the patrons on the go-kart track. We showed the video to the attorney. He got up and left. So, all right, no case. Indoor, bouncing around. Kids, for some reason, kids like to climb on the outside of the net. What is that all about? With the parents sitting right there 5 feet from them, they forget that they ever gave birth to a child. They like zone out, they're in like another world, and the kid's hanging off, you know, the ceiling tiles and stuff. And then if you try to talk to them, they get upset because you're yelling at their kids. You got to have this coverage. It's very important. Do you have training for sensitive issues? Several of the insurance companies have literature that you can use for training on how to deal with people, where to touch, the safe zone. Make sure that they're trained in that. Do you have a written procedures manual? If you don't have it in writing, it doesn't exist, folks. Everybody has to sign it and make sure that they've seen it. Training. Something as inappropriate as touching somebody. Hey, and it's not just girls that are complaining now. The guys are complaining because the girls will walk by and pinch their butt or grab them. And it's all fun until somebody gets scorned and you let them go because they're not doing their job. And now all of a sudden they find an attorney to sue you because you allowed your employees to play around. Do I really need this coverage? Folks, what's rule number 1? Very good. You're covered or you're not.